So we are being recorded now so that I can share it with people who maybe weren't able to attend this time slot, or we're doing this webinar again at noon today. So this recording will be available. And like I said, we're going to go ahead and get started. Our whole goal this morning is to just be available to help schools, help teachers, go toward learning virtually if they need to do that at this point, or if they're ready to do that at this point. We just want to share some resources with you. And so my name is Chris Davis. I'm a virtual learning specialist with IU8's. A bunch of my colleagues are on this call as well. And the one that is working very closely with me on this project is Pat Mulroy. So Pat, I'll give you a moment to introduce yourself and how you're connected as well.
Hi, everybody. As she said, I'm Pat Mulroy. I am the supervisor for the World of Learning, which is a small program that we run. I guess not so small anymore, but it's a program we run virtually for world languages for students across the state of Pennsylvania, and we have a sprinkling of others in some other places. So we use these tools every day. One of my teachers is here today. And so we use these tools, and so we're really excited to be able to support people during this really difficult time. And so Chris and I will just give you an overview of things that are possible, and we'll kind of just get going, I guess, Chris. If you have questions, just go ahead and put them in the chat, I think, too. We've got lots of folks here who are really capable of answering some of the questions if you have them on the go as we're talking.
Yeah,
Don't
and
hesitate.
so just a little bit about the space we're in. Some of you may have been in Zoom before, but in case you haven't, there are some tools you can use to communicate with us. First of all, there's the microphone at the bottom, and you can, it looks like everybody has their microphone muted right now. So just a reminder, if you'd like to talk, please feel free to do so. We'd love to hear from you. Just click that little microphone button and it will unmute your microphone. And then the second thing is that you are more than welcome to share or hide your video. That's your choice. And clicking the button with the video camera will toggle that control on and off. And then there's a chat button a little bit further over on the menu here, number 3. Pat's pointing them out, which is great. So the chat button opens up a chat window where you can communicate with us. It's a great way to ask us questions if we're in the middle of something and then we know to come back to your question. And you can also chat with one another. So if you recognize somebody in the room, if you recognize a face or a name, feel free to have a conversation in the chat. In this session, there won't be a poll on screen, but in some of our webinars, we sometimes use polling questions. And so if that happens during one of our webinars, the poll will pop up on screen, and you just follow the directions in the poll, answer the questions, and it just is a way to gather some information. Okay, so before we dig into our resources, we just wanted to have you consider these 4 important things as you think about your learners being virtual right now. First of all, think about how important it's going to be for those kiddos to have a routine, and for you working remotely to have a routine. And it's not easy to do when you're kind of thrust into this, but it is an important step. And making sure any tasks or activities or communications that you have with your learners are doable, so not so big or so complicated. And then make sure to keep in mind the emotions of everybody, because there's a lot of them swirling around right now. And then we'll kind of hone in on choosing the resources and how you make some of those choices. So
we'll just dig in. Yeah, we'll just dig in a little bit deeper here. You can see on the screen, just being very clear for kids right now is really important. Encouraging your families to do the same with kids, to get a routine and to kind of keep them going. You've probably seen on social media lots of different charts and boards. We'll show you a few. Making it doable. We know that students are not used to being in an online environment. They're used to teachers giving them directions and being able to reinforce what it is and give them little special guides as they walk up and down through their tables and in their classrooms, they're able to help students when they don't understand it. We don't have all of those available. It's really, really, really important. The bottom one, they're making the human connection. So if there's ways, even if you can't use a Zoom room or some type of feature because your kids aren't there, if you can leave voice messages, if you can send a picture along in an email, those kinds of things, we know being in a virtual world are really important for kids to make that human connection, for them to feel connected to you. And that's going to be really especially important, I think, as people feel isolated. And I think before you start with any instruction, addressing those emotions is going to be really important. You know, kind of take a temperature. How are you doing? You know, ask kids to draw a picture. You saw me using the arrow on the screen. There's also on lots of these types of tools, there's drawing tools. So you could have students draw an emotion, draw if they're happy, if they're sad, if they're afraid, and just really work on that. I think the other important part is at the bottom there, we also say stay connected to your colleagues. That's hugely important. We held a faculty meeting yesterday. We had all of our teachers' faces on the screen. People are really scared. People are anxious. And so I think it's really important at this time to acknowledge those feelings. And, you know, in order for our teachers to be healthy, to go out and take care of kids, it's important that we make sure we take care of them. So sending little messages out during the day, making sure they're okay, letting them know they can contact you during these difficult times is going to be important. I'll turn it over to Chris since my dog's checking things out there.
So I just snapshotted some of the things that I've seen. You've probably seen many of these things in social media over the last couple of days as well, but just some resources that you might find useful in communicating with your students. So this was a calendar for a week's worth of suggested activities, and I put a link in the text chat, and it allows you to make a copy of this calendar and then customize it. It's a Google Doc. So that's just one that I've seen that caught my eye. And another one is this chart. This is more of a daily chart, and obviously a student who's probably already done some of this with their teacher in an online format. But I'll put a link to this chart in the text chat area too. And I'll post these links on our website after this webinar also, and I'll show you where those will be when we flip over to that. But these are both customizable ways that you can kind of chunk the learning, like Pat said, be very clear but precise in your directions, and just a resource for passing along suggested activities to your students. And then the other thing, actually, Jen Anderson retweeted this during the week, and I thought it was really good. This is from an elementary school principal, something she shared on Twitter. And it was just a form that it looks like she uses to check in with her staff. And I thought maybe an adaptation of this form might be handy for checking in with your learners, just keeping those emotions in check, because they might be dealing with more than school or thinking about school.
Yeah, that's true. You know, and Jen, I was really thankful you retweeted that as well, because I ended up sending a version of that out to our faculty this morning just to see how they are and just to let them know that we're here for them. So I think those kinds of things and sharing our resources with each other, I think right now is a really important time to share the resources. So, so Chris, the next slide really talks about that. It talks about some of the webinars, I think, that we're going to host. So we have more coming. We'll be here for you. And I did put the link to our website for our extended campus there where there are resources. So you can go to those. We also have a spot where if there's something that we haven't provided, it would be great if you could just give us a suggestion for something you need, and we can be in touch and let you know if we have something of that nature. It's been a little bit of a whirlwind for us too. We have lots of resources that we use or have used in the past that we're kind of pulling together to make available for people. So if there's something that you need that you haven't seen on our webpage, just let us know, and we'll all dig into our archives and see what we can find.
Yeah, and it can be overwhelming because you're probably getting emails from lots of vendors. You're probably seeing lots of posts flying around on social media. But really what you need right now is just a way to stay connected with your learners, and that may be by phone, and that's okay. And then you need some things that they can learn from, and it might be very informal, small bits of learning, but then you also need a way to share it with them. So that's how we've organized our topics and resources on our website to help you. So as Pat said, our website address is myextendedcampus.com/resources, takes you to this page, and I just thought we'd show you around so that you can see what's here and what's available to you. So of course, the first box on this page is the overview. That's today's webinar. Tomorrow, we're doing a webinar about free tools for virtual learning. And there's also a resource list of lots of tools that we've sort of a curated list that we've gathered for you that might be helpful. So if you can't come to the webinar, you can certainly check out the resource list to see what we'll be talking about. Thursday, we'll be talking about some tips for communicating with your learners virtually. Yeah, and I see a question from Olivia in the chat. She's wondering about the form where people can let us know what they need. And there's a link to that right on our website above these boxes. So if you don't see a topic that you really need some information on, you can click this link and tell us what you need. Next week, we'll be doing 2 more webinars, one on Tuesday and one on Thursday. The Tuesday topic is free content for virtual learning. So that is open educational resources that we've compiled some information about for you, and we'll walk you through a little bit of that. And then Thursday, the topic is Google Classroom for learning virtually. So a lot of teachers use Google Classroom in their day-to-day classroom, face-to-face, you know, for some blended experiences, but we'll talk about how you can use it now that your students are not right in front of you. So if any of these topics interest you, feel free to join us for the webinars, but also if you click on a resource list on the website, you will see a list of resources that we've gathered. So these are ones that we just thought were really well suited to the situation right now, and that are usually free anyway. So, you know, it's not going to kind of run out on you, this deal. And I guess the thing I'd like to just emphasize is don't just think about this as a short-term solution. Use this time to think about how you might be able to incorporate some virtual learning beyond this crisis. So thinking long-term, maybe it's a time to experiment and try some of these tools, even at least for yourself as a teacher, to become a little bit more familiar and comfortable with them. So I thought what we do is, Pat, maybe I'm going to go back to the resources page. I just showed the free tools for learning resource. Do you want to talk a little bit about the communication one kind of overview?
Yeah, so in the communication, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at tools like Zoom, how you can use something like Zoom, and how you can also use not just your email, but things like Sway and a few other tools. And I don't know, Chris, if you can pop up that so that it's
Sure.
visible for folks, so that they can kind of get an idea. We have teachers who teach virtually every day, so they're really good at getting that connection with kids. And they did a video that's 30 minutes. It's on our World of Learning website. It's also here in the Extended Campus resources. It's 30 minutes, but if your teachers are nervous or if they're thinking that this is something that will be so much work for them, both Olivia and Anita have broken it down really well. They've provided in that a whole slew of resources around Zoom, and we've made some of those available here. And the other tool that we use every week, this is just getting free accounts, little things about students, how you can set your expectations for students in that Zoom room, lots of the tools that you can use, how you can record and use that to share out for kids, because you know that the times, they may not be able to show it at the time that you're available, but we talked about them seeing your face. So these are all kind of important. ways for us to help you. But I think the last one is sway that we put in there, and our teachers do Monday morning messages, and those messages are really animated. They really help kids to engage, and we'll share more about what they look like and how you can create those to send out to your families if that's possible. And then we have two other things that we're going to do. We're going to talk a little bit about using Google Classroom and what those types of resources look like for you. That'll be, I believe, next Thursday. And these are the content resources. That's going to be next Tuesday, right, Chris? So the content resources are, like Chris said, and I think this is really important, these are things that are always free. So even if you get beyond here and your teachers really find that they like these resources, Khan Academy, CK12, we have about 8 of them, right, I think, on this list. So take a look at that list. These are free. They're always free. They won't go away. We use them quite extensively in our courses and the things that we develop for the learners that we serve at IU8. So I think that the OER Commons, and we use the COERLL, which is the language learning Corel. We use a lot of those free resources to develop our courses. So they're really all things that are very doable for your teachers and that we're more than willing to help and support.
And notice we
And
have
then I think the last one was about Google, Chris, right?
That's right. Yep. So I'll pop into that. And again, at the top of each of these lists, there's that link to that form you can fill out if there's something you want to learn more about that we haven't already included. We're certainly welcome to offer some resources, tips, strategies on those things too. We all work, my colleagues and I all work in virtual situations. You know, we all work with students who are virtual, teachers who are virtual. So this is our forte, and we just want to kind of work with our schools, with our teachers, and be helpful where we can.
Yeah, and I think we recognize that we've been doing this for a long time, and we take a lot of this for granted, that people are used to being in meetings like this, that people are used to communicating and reaching out to people virtually. And it isn't the same. Just like today, almost everybody has their video off. That's something that I've found working with teachers over time, that it's really hard for people to show their face on video. And it's one of the things that is super, super important in terms of that human connection. That kids see your face, they see your smile, they see the emotion. I know our voice gives some of it off, but we can kind of read into things when we don't see people's faces. And so it's one of those things, or the hand gestures. I'm sure you guys can see my hands are flying all over the place as I talk. I'm trying to hold that in. But I do think that we can help support that, because it is a process and it does take time for people to get comfortable in the virtual environment. Teachers like to do an amazing job, and when they're uncomfortable, they don't feel like the expert. They tend to not want to try to use these tools, but we're here to help you. We're here to support you. We'll do our best to be with you every step of the way to try and make you comfortable, so that, you know, underneath it all, we're here for the kids, and we want to make sure that we provide resources that make you comfortable connecting with your kids.
And we do have, if you notice, next week, we don't yet have a webinar topic planned for Wednesday, but we have the time available. So if there's something you'd like to see us host a webinar about, a particular topic related to virtual learning, please let us know what you'd like to see there, because we have the room, we have people, and we can certainly do that and pull some resources together that can help you. So again, the website address is myextendedcampus.com
Put it back in the chat
resources. Yep, and Pat's putting it in the chat area. So I'm just going to kind of pause and see if anybody in the group has any questions for us. And certainly feel free to pop out and check that out. If there's other types of professional learning you'd like to know more about, that's maybe more in depth or longer term for your teachers, you can reach out to us too, and we can talk that over with you.
Yeah, and if you wouldn't mind, it would be great if you could just type your name and your email or your school district if you want, and as we push resources out, or if we have other things, we can certainly get in touch with you. Uh, that would be great for us. And if you haven't already filled out the form, I'll put that form back down there. I'm not sure if everybody got that, but we have a little survey just to kind of put that in the chat as well, just so we know who we're helping out. And if you need more help, we can reach out to you, or we can let you know what other things we
Yep, it
do
looks like
as things evolve.
a few folks have filled out the form, so we appreciate that.
Great, great. Thanks so much.
All right, so we hope you join us on the other days this week, Wednesday and Thursday, for other webinars, and we hope that you explore those lists and pass them on to your teacher friends, anybody who might be needing something like this. And again, thank you for coming, and let us know what you need.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you.